So guys, today we will be solving the last 40 questions of the mathematics section of the West Bengal Joint Paper that came in 2015. So let's get started. In the first question, we can see it is stated that a fair coin is tossed a fixed number of times. Let the number of times be n. If the probability of getting exactly 3 heads equals that of getting exactly 5 heads, the probability of getting exactly 1 head is. Now we know that if the probability of getting 3 heads and 5 heads are equal, that means the number of combination of both are equal. Therefore, NC3 is equals to NC5. Also, from the properties of combination, we know that NC3 is equal to NCn minus 3. Therefore, equating these two equations, you can easily see that n minus 3 is equal to 5, that is n is equal to 8. Next, if we want to find the probability of getting exactly one head, we can know that the probability will be is equal to the number of combinations where only one head pops up, that is 8C1, divided by total number of combinations of heads and tails when 8 coins are tossed, that is 2 to the power 8. Now, it can be easily seen that this turns out to be 2 to the power 3 by 2 to the power 8, which is equal to 1 by 32. Therefore, option B is your answer. Now on to the next question. If the letters of the word probability are written down at random in a row, the probability that two B's are together is. Now, let's consider stacking up the letters P, R, O, B, A, another B, I, L, another I, T, and Y. Now, what is the total number of unrestricted combinations? Let that be PT. PT is equal to 11 factorial because there are 11 letters divided by 2 factorial because there are 2 B's into 2 factorial because there are 2 I's. Then again, if we find the probability with constant, let that be PC, that turns out to be 10 factorial divided by 2 factorial. Now we know that the probability of the of finding a word with that constant is equal to PC divided by PT. Therefore, it is equal to 10 factorial divided by 2 factorial whole divided by 11 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 2 factorial. So 2 factorial cuts out. So PT is the total number of combinations, PC is the number of combinations with constant, and P is the probability of getting a word within that constant. So if we cut 10 factorial with 11 factorial, we get 11. So the answer is 2 by 11. There you go. The answer is A. On to the next question. The least positive value of t. So the lines x is equal to t plus alpha, y is equal to y plus 16 is equal to 0, and y is equal to alpha x are concurrent. So concurrent means that the three lines in the two-dimensional space pass through a single point. Therefore, here x is equal to t plus alpha, y is equal to minus 16, and putting these two values in the third equation, that is y is equal to alpha x, we get minus 16 is equal to alpha into t plus alpha. Now in this case, we can see that t can be easily equated to minus of alpha plus 16 by alpha. Therefore, t and alpha are not independent, that is, t can be expressed as a function of alpha. Now, for minimizing the value of t, we know that we first have to do dt d alpha is equal to 0. Now we know that if dt d alpha is equal to 0, then it can be a maximum or minima. You can do the double derivative test, but you won't get that much time during the exam. So you can obviously see that the least positive value is required, and this equation only gives one solution. Therefore, it gives two solutions, positive and negative, but the amount can be no other values. So in this case, dt d alpha can be written as dt d alpha can be written as minus 1 minus minus 16 by alpha square, which implies alpha square is equal to 16, alpha is equal to plus minus 4. Now this produces the maximum value for alpha is equal to minus 4 and the minimum value for alpha is equal to plus 4. You can just put and check. That is the best way to do it fast in the exam. Now that gives us t is equal to minus 4 plus 16 by 4, which is equals to minus 8. Now if we increase the value, other value, it gives us t is equal to minus of minus 4 minus 4, which gives us is equal to 8. Now what will be the graph of t be like? The graph of t will be like, suppose this is t, this is alpha, the graph will be somewhat like this, where this is the 4 mark. Now like this, yeah. So we get the minimum at the positive point and the maximum at the negative point. Now carefully consider here that the maximum value is less than the minimum value. This is because of the properties of the maximum minima. Now therefore we see that 8 is the answer. Therefore be careful that minus 8, although is less than 8, the minimum value, if minus 8 was an option, would not be the answer. 8 will be the answer. Okay, to go on to the next question. So this is a very simple question based on the cosine rule. From the cosine rule we know that cos square a is equal to b square plus c square divided by a square. Now we also know that cos square a must be less than 1 and less than equal to 1 and greater than equal to 0. Now as we can see that here, based on the cosine rule, we see that on the basis of the given equality, we see that from the triangle law it gives us b square plus c square minus a square is less than 0, which implies cos a is less than 0. Therefore a belongs to where, in which range is cos a less than 0, that is pi by 2 to pi, within the 0 to pi range. Therefore your answer is option B. Now on to the next question. The next question states that what will be the interval in which x satisfies both of the conditions. Now let us first draw the graph of both of the functions. Now the functions in this case are mod cos x. So we know the graph of mod cos x will be somewhat like this, and the graph of sin x will be somewhat like this. Now so on to the next question. We can see that here the graph of two functions are required. One is mod of cos x, which we already know the graph will be something like this, and the graph of sin x. which will be around about like this. Now we need to know in which region is mod cos x greater than sin x, that is the blue line is greater than the green line, so that will be this region and this whole region. So what is the first region, what is the point of intersection? Mod cos x is equal to sin x. Where will that be? Now we know that cos 45 is equal to sin 45, and that is equal to 1 by root 2. Therefore we know that this first point is 45 degree. Therefore the first range is 0, pi by 4. Then union the second range, that is from here to here. Now what will be this angle? This will be exactly 180 minus 45, that is 135 degree, which in terms of pi will be 3 pi by 4, and for the rest of the range where it cuts again, that will be 3 pi by 2. So that will be the answer, which is option A. Now going on to the next question, we see the number of distinct real roots of this equation in this interval is. Now to solve this equation, we need to know that this determinant always comes out to be, this must be memorized, this determinant comes out to be sin x plus 2 cos x into sin x minus cos x whole square. Now this is given to be 0. Now the main thing is that this determinant can also be calculated on the exam sheet during the exam, but this is very time consuming, so I recommend that you remember this result. So for this to be is equal to 0, we know that either one of the factors has to be 0. So if we take the factor 1 is equal to 0, therefore we get sin x is equal to minus 2 cos x, that is tan x is equal to minus 2. And if we take factor 2 is equal to 0, we basically get sin x equal to cos x. Now if we plot the graph of both tan x and cos x, let's see. Now be careful, this only says within the interval minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4. So we know that that interval will be right about here, up till here, where tan x is equal to 1. Now here tan x is equal to minus 2 comes around here, but tan x is equal to 1 is also a solution which comes out from here, which is tan x equal to 1 by cross multiplication. Now tan x is equal to 1 is here. Now minus 2 is a solution, but not in this range from minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4. Therefore tan x is equal to 1 is the only solution, not tan x is equal to minus 2. Therefore this one is the only solution. Therefore 1 is the answer. There is one root in the given range. Now moving on to the next question, it says let x1 x2 up to x15 be 15 distinct numbers chosen from 1 through 15. Then the value of x1 minus 1 into x2 minus 1 into x3 minus 1 up to x5 minus 1 is. Now to solve this, we can say that among the 15 of them, let xk b is equal to 1, because we know there are 15 numbers and 15 digits, therefore there must be one value of xk which is 1. Therefore for that value, for that xk minus 1 turns out to be 0, and we know 0 multiplied by anything is equal to 0. Therefore this is always 0. Moving on to the next question, we see that the box function of x denotes the greatest integer less than equal to x. Then the value of alpha for which the function sine of box of minus x square divided by box of minus x square where x is not equal to 0 and a where x is equal to 0 is continuous at x equal to 0. So basically what that means is that we have to see to it that limit x tends to 0, the function, that is, since x tends to 0 does not include x is equal to 0, so that will mean only the other function, which is sine of box of minus x square by box of minus x square. This is equal to alpha or a. So in this case this limit tends to 1, and why is that? Because x0, when x tends to 0, x square is a very small positive fraction, but minus of x square is a very small negative fraction. Therefore the least integer less than x square minus x square is minus 1. So in this case that is sine of minus 1 divided by minus 1. So that turns out to be is equal to sine of 1. So that is option C. Now moving on to the next question. In the next question we see a particle starts moving from rest from a fixed point in a fixed direction. The distance s from the fixed point at time t is given by this equation, where a and b are real numbers. If the particle comes to rest at after 5 seconds at distance of s equal to 25 units from the fixed point, then the values of a and b are respectively. Now we can easily see that putting the first we can take a derivative of the function s with respect to t, because s is basically a function with respect to t. Therefore we can take the derivative, which turns out to be 2t plus a. Now that gives us the velocity. Now we know that it comes to a stop comes to rest at 5 seconds. Now that gives us that the velocity, this is the velocity at time is equal to 5 is equal to 0. Therefore 10 plus a is equal to 5, which gives us a is equal to 0, a is equal to minus 10. Now putting a is equal to minus 10, we can see that it after 5 seconds it is at a distance of 25 units. Putting that in this equation, we see that 25 is equal to 5 square minus 10 into 5 minus b plus 17, which gives us the value of b at minus 33. Therefore option B is your answer. Moving on. In the next question, it is a question of limits. Clearly we see we have a limit of root over 1 plus root over 2 up to root over n minus 1 divided by n root n. So we can express this as limit n tends to infinity summation 1 by n times summation of r by n whole to the power 1 by 2, where r goes from 1 to n, minus limit n tends to infinity 1 by n times n by n. So that is basically adding and subtracting this term. Now by rewriting this, what we can do is that expressing this as an definite integral. Now this comes as a part of the chapter of definite integral, where we can say, if we replace to put it simply, we can just limit n tends to infinity 1 by n summation whatever be the function. If this can be expressed as a function of r by n, then we can just replace this as integral 0 to 1 f of x dx. Now here the function turns out to be root over x, because there is root over r by n. So the integral will be integral 0 to 1 root over x dx, which is very easy, which is x to the power 3 by 2 divided by 3 by 2 from 0 to 1. At 0 it is 0, at 1 it is 2 by 3. Therefore the value of the integral is 2 by 3. Therefore C is the answer. Now moving on to the next question. Moving on to the next question, you can see it is another question on limits. So we see limit extends to 0, limit extends to 0, a x e to the power x minus b log 1 plus x divided by x square is equal to 0. Now just to simplify, we can write this as limit x tends to 0, a e to the power x plus a x e to the power x minus b by 1 plus x whole divided by whole divided by 2x. Now that is just simply applying the L'Hopital's rule. Now L'Hopital's rule is not applicable in class 11th and 12th board, but you must use it in competitive exams sometimes, just to save time. So you take the derivative of a to the power a into x e to the power x. This gives us 2 terms, and b log of 1 plus x obviously gives us this term. So this is what we get from applying LH rule for one time. Now from on this, we know that we cannot find out the limit until and unless this I mean L'Hopital rule is applicable on this again. Now for the rule to be applicable again, we know that this must come in a 0 by 0 form. Now the denominator already tends to 0, but we don't know about that. We cannot say the same about the numerator. About the numerator, if we have to say that a e to the power x plus a x e to the power x minus b by 1 plus x is equal to 0, as x is equal to 0, then this term is 0. A is equal to b by 1, which implies a is equal to b. Now applying L'Hopital's rule again, we see that the limit L is equal to a times limit x tends to 0 e to the power x into 1 plus x plus e to the power x plus 1 by 1 plus x whole cube whole square whole divided by 2, and this value is given to be 3, which implies that 3a by 2 is equal to 3. Therefore a is equal to b is equal to 2. Now just to say that this question can be solved faster, that is, we have found out a is equal to b. Which option does that match? Only this one. Now just for the solution I have given this part, but we can do without that part also. Now moving on to the next question. This is an question of definite integral. The area of region bounded by y is equal to mod x and y is equal to minus mod x plus 2. Now although I say this is a question of definite integral, we are not going to be solving this with the help of definite integral, because definite integral must be used in the board exams. In this case, because all the lines are straight lines, it will be faster for us to solve using just simple geometry. Now as we can see, what are the functions? The functions are y is equal to mod x, that is something along the lines of that, y is equal to mod of x, and the other one is y is equal to 2 minus mod of x, so that is 2, I suppose, so that will be 2 minus mod of x. Now as simple as it may seem, this angle is actually 45 degree, so we know that this angle will be 90 degree, this is 90, this is 90, this is 90, so what is it? It's a square. So let us solve for this point. So when x is greater than 0, we can say that y is equal to x and y is equal to 2 minus x. Now if these two intersect, then we can say x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. Now this point is therefore x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. Therefore this is basically a circle where every side is the diagonal of the triangle, of the right angle triangle. Therefore this is root 2. Now the area, let be a, is equal to root 2 whole square is equal to 2 square units. So that is C for your answer. Now we can also solve this as a definite integral problem from minus 2 to 0 and then 0 to 2, breaking this into two different straight lines, but that is much more time consuming than it needs to be. Now in the next question we see, let dn denote the number of divisors of n including 1 and itself, then d25, d1125 and d640 are. Now first we factorize them. 225 is nothing but 3 square into 5 square. 1125 is equal to 3 square into 5 cube, and 640 is equal to 2 to the power 7 into 5. Therefore d of 225 is equal to, it will be just the product of the powers plus 1. So in the first case, first power is 2 plus 1 times 2 plus 1, which gives us 9. d of 1125 is, first power is 2, 2 plus 1 times second power is 3, 3 plus 1 gives us 3 times 4, which is 12. And d of 640 is equal to 8, which is 7 plus 1 times 1 plus 1, which is 2, which gives us 16. So 9, 12, 16, what gives us? The ratio of 4 by 3. Therefore these are consecutive terms of a GP. In the next question we have a trigonometric equation, sin inverse x is equal to 2 sin inverse 2a. Now in order to solve this, we have to see minus pi by 2 is less than equal to sin inverse x less than equal to pi by 2. This implies that minus pi by 2 is less than equal to 2 sin inverse 2a less than equal to pi by 2. Therefore from this we can see, dividing by 2 on both sides, we can see pi minus pi by 4 is less than equal to sine inverse 2a less than equal to pi by 2, and we can then say that 2a lies between minus 1 by root 2 and plus 1 by root 2. Therefore mod a is less than 1 by 2 root 2 less than equals to. So that will be option D for you. In the next question, we can see it's a question of complex numbers. 2 plus I and root 5 minus 2i are the roots of this equation. X square plus ax plus b and x square plus cx plus d is equal to 0, where a, b, c, d are real constants. Then product of all roots of the equation is. Now the thing about this is, whenever there is an equation x square plus ax plus b is equal to 0, whatever be one root, let it be a complex number c1, if both a b are real numbers, then the other root has to be c1 bar, that is the complement. That is, if c1 is x plus iy, the other one is x minus iy. So even though both this equation has 4 roots in total and they have given you only 2, they have cheekily actually given you both the solutions. So that is actually since these two roots are not the complements of each other, so the roots will be 2 plus I, 2 minus I, root 5 minus 2i and root 5 plus 2i. Now the question says the product of all roots of the equation is. The product of the first two roots would be 4 minus 1 and the product of second two roots would be 5 minus 4. Now that just yep, I messed up. So that will be 4 plus 1 and 5 plus 4, which gives us 5 times 9, which is 45. That is C. Now moving on on to the 55th question. So in this question, we can see that px is a polynomial which, when divided by x minus 3 and x minus 5, leaves remainder of 10 and 6 respectively. So that means from the remainder theorem we can say that p of 3 is equal to 10 and p of 5 is equal to 6. Now the question is, if the polynomial is divided by x minus 3 and x minus 5, the remainder is. So we can say that px from the previous two equations is equal to x minus 3 into x minus 5 into some polynomial, maybe qx, plus ax plus b. Now ax plus b gives us 10 for 3 and 6 for 5. Now which means that 3a plus b is equal to 10 and 5a plus b is equal to 6, which means 2a is equal to minus 4. Therefore a is equal to minus 2. Therefore b is equal to 16. Therefore the remainder when the polynomial is divided by both will be minus 2x plus 16, which is option A. Now moving on to the next question. the integrating factor of the differential equation. Okay, so we know that any differential equation of the format dy dx plus p times x is equal to q, where p is a constant or a function, where p and q both are a constant or functions of x. We can write them as, this we can find out the integrating factor if is equal to e to the power integral p dx. Now here in this case, if we replace tan inverse y by z, we can easily see that the function turns to be, we can say 1 by 1 plus y square, differentiating on both sides, dy dx is equal to dz dx. Now dz dx dz dx plus 3x square z is equal to x cube. Now here p is equal to 3x square, comparing with this equation and this equation. Therefore the integrating factor is equal to e to the power integral 3x square dx, which just gives us e to the power x cube. So that is option B for you. Now the next question states, if y is equal to e to the power minus x cos 2x, then which of the following differential equations is satisfied? Now let us do this in a straightforward way, that is y is equal to e to the power minus x cos 2x. Now just take the derivative. y1 is the first derivative, y2 is the second derivative, and so on. So that gives us e to the power minus x into minus cos 2x. That is when I have taken the derivative of e to the power minus x, and minus 2 sine 2x, that is when I have taken the derivative of cos 2x. So that gives us minus e to the power minus x into cos 2x plus 2 sine 2x. Now we can take the derivative again on this, but before that we replace y into the value of y1. So we know y is equal to, y1 is equal to minus y minus 2 e to the power minus x sine 2x. Now for after differentiating again, we can see it will be y2 is equal to minus y1 plus 2 e to the power minus x sine 2x, that is when we differentiate the e to the power minus x part, minus 4 e to the power minus x cos 2x, that is when we differentiate the sine 2x part. So this gives us y2 is equal to minus y1 minus y minus y1 minus 4y. Therefore y2 plus 2y1 plus 5y is equal to 0. That is the differential equation A. Now in the next question we can see that if x is the fractional part of real number x, therefore the value of integral of x. So we know that the graph of function fractional part is something like this, now which is also called the Grass function. But here we have the function fractional part, that is a fractional part of x square. So we just simply take the graph of x square. Where does it cut the value of 1, that is x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. we just clip off the rest of the part and take this first part only, and just keep on repeating that. So this will be the new function. So basically between 0 to 1 or between any integer n to n plus 1, in general f of x is equal to fractional part of x square, which is equal to x minus n whole square. So integrating between, first we have to integrate between 0 to 3. So integrate from 0 to 3 fx is 0 to root 3 fx dx. So from 0 to 1 it is integral x square dx. From 1 to root 2 it is integral x minus 1 whole square dx, and from root 2 to root 3 it is integral x minus 2 whole square dx. Now adding up these three parts, we get the integral is, we can write I is equal to root 2 minus root 3 plus root 1, which is 1. So therefore your answer is option C. Now moving on to the next question, we have a question from set theory. S is equal to a set A of A, B, C, where each A, B, C belongs to natural numbers, given the constant A plus B plus C is equal to 21, and A is less than B is less than C, less than equal to C. So it gives T is another set where A, B, C are in AP, where n is the set of all natural numbers. Then the number of elements in S intersection T, that is A, B, C in AP, increasing because A is less than, because of this condition, and A plus B plus C is equal to 21. B is equal to A plus C by 2 because they are in AP. Replacing that, we get A plus C is equal to 14, which means B is equal to 7. So we can see that because A is the smallest and C is the largest, A can take any value from 1 to 6 and C can take any value from 13 to 13 to 8. Therefore there is a boundary condition of A is equal to B is equal to C is equal to 7. So in total there are 7 triplets. So there will be 7 elements in the intersection, which gives us B as the answer. Now moving on to the last question of the first group, we see y is equal to e to the power x square, and y is equal to e to the power x square sin x be two given curves. Then the angle between the tangents to curves at any point of their intersection is. Now first try to imagine how the curve will go. Now first let's take x-axis. Let's take the x-axis, let's take the y-axis, and let's try to imagine what the graph will look like. So for the first curve, y equal to e to the power x square, I will be using the green color. So roughly e to the power x, but much faster, much steeper curve. so that will be this. Now in case of y is equal to e to the power x square sin x, which will be the blue curve. Now sin x, as we know, it at first starts with 0, then it grows to 1, and then it comes back down and goes to 0, goes to negative. Now if we plot a dotted negative version of e to, that is y is equal to minus e to the power x square, then this graph will just continue on oscillating between these two functions as the boundary and continue on growing indefinitely. So these are the intersection points. Let me mark it using another color. Maybe let's say this. Now the question that has been asked, it is that the angle between the tangents to the curves at any point of their intersection is. Now at the point of intersection, e to the power x square is equal to e to the power x square sin x. Since e to the power x square has no chance of being 0, so we can avoid that part. So we know that this is only possible when sin x is equal to 1 at the point of intersection, that is, it tangentially touches the curve. Therefore we get y is equal to e to the power x square. From the differential equation we get the slope as dy dx is equal to 2x e to the power x square. And for the other curve, for y is equal to e to the power x square sin x, we can say that dy dx is equal to 2x e to the power x square sin x plus e to the power x square cos x. Now when they are intersecting, since they are tangentially intersecting, their tangents are always equal. So dy dx is equal to 2x e to the power x square when sin x is equal to 1, because we have established that that is the only condition when the that is the only condition where this intersection can take place, that is sin x is equal to 1. Therefore we see that the angle between the tangents at any point would be 0, because they are always tangentially touching each other like this. So let me erase and make the graph more clear. So it goes like this, and the tangent goes like this. So therefore the angle between the tangent is 0, because it is just touching. Now you can pause for a moment, because you have completed the part 1. Now the total paper gives you 2 hours for the mathematics section. Now there are a total of 80 questions, of which the 60 questions are the easier ones, which we have solved just now. Now the harder ones, the ones with more weightage, the more marks, are coming next. So I would recommend finishing the first 60 in first, trying to at least finish the first 60 in the first hour, and trying to complete the last 20 in the second hour. So it will take about round about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, which will add up to 2 hours after correction, revision and all that. Okay, so for the second part, for the second section, in the first question we see a person goes to office by car or scooter or bus or train, probability of which are 1 by 7, 3 by 7, 2 by 7 and 1 by 7 respectively. Probability that he reaches office late if he takes car, scooter, bus or train are 2 by 9, 1 by 9, 4 by 9 and 1 by 9 respectively. Given that he reached the office in time, the probability that he travelled by car is. So For this we actually use the Bayes theorem, in which we can actually find out the in the specific condition that is given, traveled by car. In the case he traveled by car, the probability that he reached the office in time is 1 by 7 times 7 by 9, and their divided by probability will be is equal to summation of all the probabilities of all the vehicles he could have taken times the probability that he would have reached on time. So that would be for the car 1 by 7 times 7 by 9 plus 3 by 7 times 8 by 9 plus 2 by 7 times 5 by 9 plus 1 by 7 times 8 by 9. This turns out to be 1 by 7. Now that is the probability that given he traveled given he reached his office in time, the probability that he traveled by car. So the actual Bayes theorem is that P of A given B is equal to what's the matter? Yes, so P of A given B is equal to P of B given A, that is here reaches in time given he travels by car, into P of into P of A divided by P of B. So given that he this part is this part, P of A is 1 by 7 and the rest is this part. Now moving on quickly to the next question, we see the value of the integral. Now first of all we can easily see that the value of x by 2 here we can in the denominator we can if we cut out 1 x minus 2, we see easily that the integral turns out to be I is equal to integral dx by x minus 2 whole to the power 1 by 3 minus 1 by 3 into x plus 3 whole to the power 7 by 3. Now we can write this is equal to integral dx by taking the x minus 2 to the power of 7 by 3, because that is the highest power. We can take it to x minus 2 whole to the power 2 into x plus 3 divided by x minus 2 whole to the power 7 by 3. Therefore if we take t is equal to x plus 3 divided by x plus 2, we can see that minus 5 dx divided by x minus 2 whole square is equals to dt. Therefore I becomes is equal to minus 1 by 5 integral dt by t to the power 7 by 3. Therefore I is equal to 3 by 20 into x minus 2 divided by x minus 3 x plus 3, because it was in the denominator after flipping 4 by 3 plus c. So that will give us an answer of B. That will give us an answer of A, right? Moving on, in the next question we see that there is a triangle having one angle is equal to 90 degrees, that means it's a right angle triangle. R and capital R are in radius and circumradius of triangle, then 2 of smaller plus capital R. Now usually this one is a value usually you will remember this by the time you go to the exam after 2 years of studying. But in any case, if this is the right angle triangle, this is the circumradius is capital R, the in radius is small r, then in that case we can see, if I break down the triangle except other than everything else, then we can see this is a minus r, so as here, as we can see, if we say that this is A, this is B, and this is C, or the right angle triangle, then we can say that this is B minus R, this is B minus R, like that, where the small b, small a, small b, small c are the sides opposite to the respective vertex. Now with the help of this, we can also say, because the hypotenuse is same as 2 times the radius, we can just say that 2 into capital R is equal to A minus R plus B minus R. Therefore this leads to 2 into small r plus capital R is equal to A plus B. This is usually a result to be remembered. So the answer here is C. Let alpha in the next question it is said, let alpha beta be two distinct roots of A cos theta plus B sin theta is equal to C. A, B, C are three real constants. Theta belongs to 0 to 2 pi. Then alpha plus beta is also a root of the same equation if. So in this case we can rewrite cos theta and sin theta in terms of tan theta by 2. So if we let's say t is equal to tan theta by 2, then we can write that a into 1 minus t square by 1 plus t square plus 2b t divided by 1 plus t square is equal to c. From this, after simplification, we get c plus a times t square minus 2bt plus, as a constant, c minus a is equal to 0. So this is basically a quadratic equation. Let me rewrite that little bit. Just so that will be c plus a times t square minus 2bt plus c minus a is equal to 0. So therefore, if alpha and beta are two roots and alpha plus beta is also a root, then tan of alpha plus beta by 2 is equal to, if we break up using the tan formula, c plus a divided by 1 minus c minus a by c plus a is equal to b by a. Therefore b by a is the root of the equation. Therefore therefore c must be is equal to a. So in this case the answer is option D. So for the next question, 65, for the matrix this u1 u2 u3 are 3 column matrix satisfying these 3 conditions. U is 3 into 3 matrix whose columns are these. Then the sum of the elements of U inverse is. So for the matrix, let ui be is equal to a matrix of ai bi ci, let's say. Then we can say that a u1 is equal to a1 2a1 plus b1 and 3a1 plus 2b1 plus c1, which turns out to be equals to 1 0 0. Therefore, which implies a1 is equal to 1, b1 is equal to minus 2, and therefore 3 minus 4 plus c1 is equal to 0. Therefore c1 is equal to 1. This implies that the u1 is equal to 1 minus 2 1. So there's that. And similarly, if we say a u2 is equal to 2 3 0, following the second condition, we can find out the values of the second 1 into 3 matrix, and similarly we can find out the value. Okay, let's do it. So we can say in this case that a times 0, so 0, b times 1, so b, and c times 2, so 2b plus c is equal to so this will turn out to be a2 2a2 plus b 3a2 plus 2b2 plus c2 is equal to 2 3 0. Therefore we can say a2 is equal to 2, b2 is equal to minus 1, and c2 is equal to minus 3. Similarly, u is equal to so we can say similarly a3 is equal to 2, b3 is equal to minus 1, and c3 is equal to minus 3. Therefore u is equal to 1 minus 2 1, 2 minus 1 minus 4, and 2 minus 1 minus 3. So adding up all the elements, let's say summation e is equal to 0, as we can see. So B is the answer. Okay, going on to the next question. Here we see let R2 be a differentiable mapping at x equal to 0. If f0 equal to 0, f dash 0 is equal to 2, then the value of the limit is. Now in this case, this is a very simple question. Now we can just simply apply the L'Hopital's rule, and therefore limit L becomes is equal to limit x tends to 0. The denominator becomes 1 and the numerator becomes f dashed 0 plus 2 f dashed 0 plus 3 f dashed 0, and so on and so forth up to 2015 f dashed 0. Now f dash 0, as we know, is 2. Therefore this becomes 2 into 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus dot 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 2015. Now this is equal to 2015 into 2016. That is option C. Okay. Going on to the next question. If x and y are digits such that 17 factorial equal to 3556xy4280. So the main thing we need to count is that since 17 factorial is divisible by 9, because of obviously it has a 3 and also a 9 in it. So for it to be divisible by 9, the whole sum must be divisible by 9. So let's do the sum of the digits. The sum of the digits turns out to be 48 plus x plus y. Now sum must be s must be divisible by 9. That is one condition. So therefore x plus y can only be 15 or 6, because x and y can only vary from 0 to 9. So in that case also 17 factorial is divisible by 11. So in the case of divisibility by 11, the condition is the difference between the sum of alternate digits like this and the other alternate digits, the difference, let this be s1, this be s2, then s1 minus s2 is divisible by 11. So this implies that 10 plus x minus y mod must be multiple of divisible by 11 or 0. So that is only possible if x plus y is equal to 15. Now this is the thing that has to be found out. X plus y is equal to 15 is the answer. Going on to the next question, we see let int R mapping be such that f1 is equal to 1 and f1 plus 2f2 plus 3f3 going to n fn is equal to n into n plus 1 into fn. So for all n belongs to natural numbers n greater than 2, where capital N is set of natural numbers, R is set of real numbers, then value of f500 is. So for finding this easily, basically we can do is we can take two consecutive terms. So for suppose we say f1 plus so that will be plus 2f2 plus going on to n fn is equal to n plus 1 f n plus 1 and f1 plus 2f2 going on to n minus 1 f n minus 1 is equal to n f n. So after subtracting, we see that n f n so this will be multiplied by another n and n minus 1. So we see that n f n is equal to basically n minus 1 into f n minus 1. Therefore clearly f n is equal to 1 by 2n. Therefore f500 is equal to 1 by 1000. So there we go, the answer is D. Now moving on. So in the next question, we see 5 distinct balls are placed at random into 5 cells, then the probability that exactly one cell remains empty is. So basically what we have to do is, there are 5 distinct balls. Let's say there is a container with 5 sections. So what we have to do is, in the first case, without the constraint, we find out all the defined probable combinations. So for each of the balls, it is equally probable to go into each of the containers. Therefore that is 5 possibilities for each of the 5 balls. So that will be Yeah, so that will be 5 to the power 5. Again, that is the total number of combinations possible. Now if we just have to say that one of them is empty, that means we can consider that this part is just the container part left. We can just ignore this last section. So now it can just go into these 4 sections. So now for each of the 5 balls there are 4 to the power 5 possibilities. However, that also so that also includes that more than one are empty, those probabilities are also included, so those we have to exclude. So that will be minus 1 to the power 5, minus 2 to the power 5, and minus 3 to the power 5. So that will be only all in one container, all in 2, all in 3. So those 3 possibilities will be eliminated. So after eliminating these 3, the answer will become 48 divided by 125. Yeah, so and another factor will be there, so that is for 4C5 which container will be empty. So that will be into 5C1, this will be into 5C4, this will be into 5C2, this will be into 5C3. So basically that's the case. Okay. Yeah, so now we move on to the last question of this category. Survey of people in a given region showed that 20 were smokers. The probability of death due to lung cancer given that a person smoked was 10 times the probability of death due to lung cancer given that a person did not smoke. If the probability of death due to lung cancer in the region is 0.006, what is the probability of death due to lung cancer given that the person is a smoker? Okay, so basically we can take the oh sorry so we can just simply take the universal set to be the whole population or the whole the community that has been surveyed. So within that part we take a section, these are the people who died due to lung cancer. Now we divide them into smokers and non-smokers who died due to now what we are given is what we have to find out is that probability of death due to lung cancer is given to be 0.006. Probability of being a smoker is given to be 20%, and so therefore we can say that probability of D is equal to probability of smoker into probability that died due to smoker and probability that he is a non-smoker and that he died despite being a non-smoker. Now the case is that we don't know what probability of died given smoker or given non-smoker is, so we replace that with we replace this one with x, and we are given that, or we replace this one with x by 10 because it is said that probability given smoker is 10 times this. So in the next line we can just say 0.006 is equal to 20 divided by 100 into x plus 80 divided by 100 into x by 10. This gives us a value of x is equal to 3 by 140. There you go, C is your answer. Going on to the third category, Now this is the better category which I would suggest to solve before category 2, because this has less negative marking. So on comparison, both the first and second categories have same positive is to negative marking ratio, but the weightage of each question is higher. So the way I would suggest you to go about the paper would be to solve the category 3 first, and then category 2, and then category 1. So that is my personal opinion, and that's it. So going on to the next section, the first question: if cos x and sin x are solutions of the given differential equation, where a0, a1, a2 are real constants, then which of the following are always true? So this is actually a very common differential equation. So you just remember that the general solution is, so if you go on to become an engineer or scientist, in first year you will learn these things, that this differential equation is turns out to be y is equal to, the general solution is c1 times cos x plus c2 times sin x, where c1 and c2 are constants, arbitrary constants, which we get after integration, like normal indefinite integration. So considering this, the statements A and D are correct. Now going on, in question number 72, we have which of the following statements are correct for between 0 to pi by 2. Now okay, so now the thing is, root over cos theta is less than equal to cos theta by 2. So for this we draw a graph. For the first part, this is cos theta, suppose, because we are only concerned with the part between 0 and pi by 2. So this is cos theta. Now because we are taking square root, so because it is a fraction, it is getting bigger, and also so cos of theta by 2 would be, cos of theta by 2 would be this, where this is theta by 2, and the place where this intersects is the place where this intersects. Now if we consider, let me draw that again. I know I can do better. So let's just say this is theta by 2, then this will be the graph of cos of theta by 2, and then cos of theta by 2 is this, and cos of root over of theta will just become a larger version of this, so that will still be lesser than the previous value, given that it becomes cos of theta by 2, the condition of equality is at 0. So this condition, this is true. Similarly we can say, if we generalize for an n theta, we can say that cos to the power n theta is less than equal to cos n theta for n less than 1, and vice versa, for n greater than 1 the opposite is true. So for this we can say the C is true. Now going on to the next question, which of the following statements are false? So here just I will go, quadratic equation with irrational coefficient has 0 or 2 rational roots. This is given by that if the coefficient has if the coefficients are irrational, if there are neither 0 nor 2, like there is one rational and one irrational root, then the coefficient must always be rational. The vice versa is obviously true. So we can say the quadratic equation with rational coefficients has 0 or 2 irrational roots. This is true. So if there are 0 irrational roots, then obviously it has rational coefficients. If it has 2 irrational roots, then they are each other's complement. So when they are added, so 2 plus root 5 and 2 minus root 5 is similar to complex numbers, like that. So this will be true, this will be true, and this will be true. Now going on to the next question, so that is 74. If a straight line, this straight line is normal to hyperbola, then which of the following does not hold? So so that is if okay, so this is very simple. Y is equal to 1 by x, we can rewrite the hyperbola as. So after differentiating, we see that at every point the slope is equal to minus 1 by x square. So if this is a normal to the hyperbola, then at that point, it's at the point where it cuts, its slope must be minus dx by dy, which turns out to be x square, which means a minus 1 by b must be greater than 0. So that in turn implies either b or d has to be true. So if a less than 1, then either both numerator and denominator are greater than 0, or both are less than 0. Yeah. So yeah, going on to the next question, we see let me find out. Yeah, let f be any continuously differentiable function on a to b and twice differentiable in the open range a to b, such that f a is equal to f dash a is equal to 0 and f b is equal to 0. Then what we can say is, so this is actually an kind of an application of Rolle's theorem. We see, if we consider this point to be a and this point to be b, so what we know is that here it is, the slope is 0 and it comes back to here. So it can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like this, or whatever. So in any case, we apply Rolle's theorem, and because we know that at the endpoints the functional values are both 0, or the Rolle's theorem works if they are the same constant. So here they are 0, and we know that there must be an position x equal to c, let's say here, for this curve, where the tangent is has a slope of 0. So if for every curve there is a minimum at least a single point c, so that this condition holds. So we can say that if dash x equal to 0 for some x belongs to a to b, direct application of Rolle's theorem, and if double dash x is also 0, that is because f dashed 0 is 0. So that is the reason why. So we have to apply Rolle's theorem twice. Now in the next question, we see that relation rho on the set of real numbered R is defined as follows: x rho y, if and only if xy is greater than 0, then which of the following are true. So in this case, we can see that x rho x, x square is greater than 0. So so yeah, if so given the conditions, we can test everything. So for symmetric, we have to test if x rho y is equivalent to y rho x. For reflective, we have to see if x rho x is a part of the set. So here the x square is greater than 0 is not true for x equal to 0. So since x equal to 0 is part of the set on which it is defined, and at this point this is not satisfied, therefore it cannot be reflexive. Therefore this is not an option, this is not an option. B and C both can be true. In the next part, so we have to check if it's symmetric. So x y greater than 0 implies and is implied by yx is greater than 0, so definitely symmetric. So B and C both still can be is tick. So B is true, so we have to check for transitive. So if we check for transitive, so we know xy greater than 0, yz greater than 0. So does that imply xz greater than 0? So we can multiply them both. So we say xz y square is greater than 0 and y square is greater than 0, which implies that this must be true. So it is also transitive. Yeah, so moving on. In our next question, we have, suppose a machine produces metal parts that contain some defective parts with probability 0.05. How many parts should be produced in order that the probability of at least one part being defective is half or more? So this is just a very simple question, that the probability of a part being defective is 0.05. so the probability of so P is 0.05. so not P bar is equal to 0.95. so the basic question is 0.95 to the power n is less than equal to half. So what is the value of n? Therefore n into log of, taking log on both sides, base 10 95. so we take out the 2 powers of 10 is less than equal to minus log base 10 of 2. so that gives us n is greater than say 300 divided by 23, that gives us n is equal to 14, 15 and so on so forth. So that satisfies 15 and 14. Done. In the next question, we see that let 16x square minus yep. So yeah, so if x if R2R be such that f of 2x minus 1 is equal to f of x for all x belongs to R. If f is continuous at x equal to 1, then f1 is equal to 1, then f2 is equal to 1, f2 is equal to 2. These are the conditions which we have to check. So x is replaced by x plus 1 by 2. so fx is becomes f of x plus 1 so f of x plus 1 divided by 2 2 is equal to f of, we can rewrite this as x plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 by replacing x by x plus 1 by 2 again. So that becomes is equal to f of x plus 3 divided by 4. Now in that case this goes on to become f of x by 2 to the power n plus 1 minus 1 by 2 to the power n. So with that in mind, and fx is equal to f1, as fx is continuous, at x equal to 1, so we can say that f2 is equal to f1 because it is a continuous function and it is a basically a constant function where all for all fx x is equal to sorry for all x fx is equal to 1, so this is a constant function. Now going on to the two last questions. So this one will be 16x square minus 3y square minus 32x minus 12y is equal to 44 represents a hyperbola. Then this is just a standard question, so we can represent this as a hyperbola by writing x minus 1 whole square divided by 3 minus y plus 2 whole square divided by 16 is equal to 1. So from this we can say length of L transverse is equal to 2 root 3, LR is equal to 32 by root 3, eccentricity is equal to root over 19 by 3, and equation of directrix is x is equal to 1 plus 3 by root over 19. So that gives us that A, B and C are true. Now moving on to the last question. For the function fx is equal to box of 1 by box x. Now see where box x denotes the greatest integer less than or equal to x, which of the following statements are true. So where can this not be defined? Where can this not be defined? That will be removed from the domain. Now this is not defined when box x is equal to 0, because 1 by 0 becomes undefined, and therefore we have to say box x not equal to 0 means x does not belong between 0 and 1. So domain is minus infinity to 0 open bracket, because even if it is 0 box of x is 0, and close bracket 1 at 1, because if it is 1 then box x is 1, then there is no problem. Then again there is a question of range. Now up to where is the range? So for every value of x greater than every value of x greater than or greater than or equal to, so x greater than equal to 2 implies that box of 1 by box of x is equal to 0, because the within the part within the box function is a fraction and that turns out to be 0. So whether if x is less than equal to minus 1, so that turns to be this becomes minus 1, so that would be the domain, the range would be 0, and for x belongs to minus 1 comma 2, outside this range will become fx is equal to 1. So the range is 0 union minus 1 union 1 individual elements. So guys, that's it for today. I know it's been a long video. Keep on practicing and you'll do fantastic in the exams. I hope to see you next time. That's it for today. Bye.